Anything? Okay, I wanted to pop on here and share about my first experience going to the Houston International Quilt Show. It's a big international quilt festival. It travels around. It's in Houston this week. So my husband and I did go today, and it was pretty amazing. There's basically two parts to it, and so you can do ah, okay, let's see here. Okay, all right. Welcome. I'm doing a live to talk about the Houston Quilt Show. My husband and I went today, and it was very interesting. I've never been, but it was great. Some of the amazing things we got to see is the actual show itself, where people have submitted quilts. There's giant quilts that are murals, and they have just amazing details, beading, applique. There's traditional piecing. There were so many quilts that were done by hand. There was like thread painting. My actual very favorite display was the Cherry Wood Challenge. And for this past year, the Cherry Wood Challenge was in colors. The creators had to use a specific bundle of colored fabric, and it was like teals and dark blues, and the theme was under the sea. And then the creators had to create a wall hanging size. I believe it was 20 by 20, and it had to use only the colors from that bundle, and it had to be an original piece of artwork. And it was amazing. I absolutely loved looking at that. And there's so many of them all in a row, and they were all different, and they were all amazing. And so the Cherry Wood Challenge, this past year, the theme was under the sea. And I'd never seen anything like it, just to see how many people could take the exact same materials and the same prompt and come up with new ideas. I was just amazed, because the human mind is so creative, and even with those limitations of a small size and limited colors, just to be able to see what people could come up with and create. So looking at the different quilts, and then every year there's a big Houston rodeo, and they had some of the rodeo quilts on display. And looking at the rodeo quilts, there was one that was a giant horse and with a cowboy on it, and it had a lot of like glitter and beading. And so again, I'm just blown away by the amount of creativity. Some of these quilts just must have taken ages to make, because they're just so incredibly detailed. And so that amount of detail and effort just must have taken forever. And I wasn't sure I was going to run into anyone that I knew, because this is such a huge show and people fly in. But actually, while my husband and I were walking around the quilts, I ran into one of my friends. She is a long armor. Her name is Kelsey, and she had a quilt in the show. So one of the categories was quilts that are inspired by architecture. And so her quilt was based on the tile floor of a famous church. And so she had submitted that quilt, and it actually got entered. And so we ran into her and her family, and I'll share some pictures later. I don't know how to add pictures into live stream. I'm not that advanced, but getting to run into her and see her with her quilt and take a picture with her, that was really cool and meaningful, because actually Kelsey and her husband, they own Goldie the Long Arm. St. Tabitha's Workshop is the name of their business, and then Goldie the Long Arm, I believe, is their Instagram. They long-armed my first couple of quilts that I made. And so that was really cool. So one side of it is, on the convention floor, is all the quilt show, all the quilts that have been entered in the show and everything that you can look at there. And then on the other side is the big vendor fair. And it's almost a little overwhelming to go walk around. I did do some shopping, so I did want to share a few things that I got. One of the first things that we saw when we were walking around was these there was a booth from Kentucky and they had these little frames. And so this is a frame that can sit on a tabletop and then it can hold a 12 by 14 inch quilt block. And so normally when you make like little wall hangings, you hang them on the wall. But this is a little frame that specifically is designed to hold a little quilt block square. And so I thought this was just so fun and so cute. And so I did get one of those frames. And then I got this kit by Riley Blake. It is the Riley Blake Designs. This is a tabletop banner pattern. It has the fabric for the banner top, the back, the hanging sleeve, and the binding. It says it's designed by Vicki McCarty of Calico Patch Designs, and it's called Mr. Chill. And I just thought this was so cute. And so it's a little collectible box, and so when you open it up, it's got all the different fabrics and materials in it. And so this was just super fun. I'm excited to try to do this. The finished size is gonna be the 12 by 14. And so they had it on display on the little frame. And so this is by Riley Blake and it's Mr. Chill. And so I think this will be a really fun, it's still 92 degrees in South Texas, but I think this will be a really fun little wall hanging. And it's cute. So that was my first purchase at the Houston Quilt Show. And then we started walking around more. One of the booths, this is where I got it from, was called Calico Patch Designs. They actually had a lot of the felted applique, and what the owner was telling me is that his wife is actually a designer for, so this Vicki McCarty, her husband was actually running the booth today. So we met her husband and he said they're from Kentucky. And so that's kind of one of the fun things when you go to the quilt show is everybody there is into quilting. And so everyone that you're talking to is excited about the same things that you're excited about. And so in general, when you're really into a hobby, not everyone is as into it as you are, but it was fun to meet Vicky's husband at the show, and he was telling us that he's from Kentucky. He's running their booth this week, and a lot of their kits are the felt applique, and I've never done that, but he was saying a lot of people enjoy that type of applique because you don't have to deal with raw edges, so that was kind of cool. So I didn't buy anything to do that, but I did take the card, and he said they do sew-alongs in their Facebook group, so that might be something to check out. One of the booths I went into had a sign that said $1 fat quarters. And so I was very excited about the $1 fat quarters. And if you're a quilter, you know, fat quarters for $1, that's a quarter of fabric for $1 each. So this is my stack of $1 fat quarters. And so I'm really notorious for buying a lot of bright colors and never buying any like low volumes, but this is a low volume, like a tan with little white polka dots. This is like a green pebble. This one kind of looked like outer spacey to me. And so all of these were $1 each. This one I thought was really cool. It has almost like sunsets or fans, and it's like blues and light pinks. Again, this is a cool design. I would have paid more than $1 for this. This one looks almost like a cheater print because it looks almost like it is already a quilted pattern. I liked this one a lot. It's pink and orange. So all of these, so I ended up getting 10. There was no limit either. There was no limit on these $1 fat quarters. So I bought, these are all my $1 fat quarters. One of the other stores was doing $6 a yard on fabrics. That's kind of one of the fun things when you're there is that they'll have specials that are only at the vendor fair. So you know, if you buy it at the market, at the festival, they'll have certain deals. And so for us, since we're within driving distance, it really seemed like a good deal because we didn't have to pay for a hotel or flying or anything. And so I got this print. It's ombre with clouds. I got 4 yards of this. I got everything that was left in the bolt. So it ended up being 4 1/8 yard. And it's cloud print. This is for the back of a quilt. I'm working on a scrappy quilt right now. So this is gonna be the back of a scrappy quilt that I'm making for one of my nieces. I also got some other fat quarters that were not $1 fat quarters. These were $3 fat quarters, but I got some fall prints. And I haven't made anything for fall yet this year. I've made a few Halloween things, but nothing specifically fall. How cute is that one? And so I did pick up some of these fall fat quarters, and my plan is to make a table runner. And this was also from the booth that had the $6 a yard fabric. So this will be the background, and I'll use some of these fat quarters to make something probably with fall leaves. I'm thinking so a fall leaf table runner coming soon, and this will be my backing fabric for that. And the quilt that I'm using this for the back of, I did get a few other fun fat quarter prints that have some of those pinks, oranges. I just love pink and orange. This is purple with little tiny flowers. And how happy is this print? Oh, I just think that's so fun and pretty and happy. So I also did get a few gadgets. I got 2 1-yard cuts of this lavender because I actually have some hydrangea fabric. I have a layer cake that my sister gave me in a mystery box of fabric that has hydrangeas, and I had specifically been wanting to pick up some lavender fabric to go with this hydrangea. So I did get that at the Quilt Festival also. The last little thing that I got, if I can find it in here, there was one booth that had all gadgets and accessories. And you may or may not know what this is. The gadget booth was super popular. My husband actually went, he was like, I'm gonna go stand in line, you pick out the rest of the gadgets you want. This is a cleaner for the sewing machine, so a sewing machine cleaner. This is for when you fold things out to get your corners to actually poke out. And they actually had them in a lot of fun, they had teal and white, this one's pink and white, and so that was really fun. And so, oh, here's 2 more fat quarters that I got that are greens. I also did get, and this is not quilting related, but I guess because it was in Texas, they had some cute little Houston Texans earrings that I got, and I also got some A&M earrings. And I met the lady who made the earrings, and she was very sweet. And that, I think, was pretty much it, other than I got some needles. And so the thing is, today, while you were there, they were having 25% off Bernina accessories. I'm trying to get better with my free motion quilting, so I did talk with one of the Bernina reps, and she was recommending that I use a top stitch needle. Now, I have not used a top stitch needle, but she was recommending that if I'm trying to do the free motion quilting on my Bernina, that I should use a top stitch needle, or she said I could use a quilting needle. So I got both. They were 25% off if you bought them at the festival, so I did get some needles. One of the other really cool things that I found out about was this organization called Sleep in Heavenly Peace, and they actually build beds for children that were previously sleeping on the floor, like if they were low income, or so they accept donations of twin size quilts for this charity, and they build beds. And so I thought that was a really cool charity. Sleep in Heavenly Peace. I definitely want to try to get more involved with that. So anyway, basically, my recap of the Houston Quilt Festival is that it's huge. It can be a little bit overwhelming. It's very inspiring. I definitely want to look more into the Cherry Wood Challenge because I was very inspired by that. And the amount of creativity that is out there is just astounding. And so anyway, I hope you have a blessed day. Happy quilting.